get started, you want to attach your threads to the board. I'm going to be making another loop like this, and I've put the colours in order on this loop. So when you put the threads on the board, it helps to put them in the order that you want them to be. They will mess up a little bit, but it makes it easier when you're doing the second part. So next you want to get the thread that you didn't attach to the board. You want to keep one free, and then you want to measure off about a foot at the end, and then run your fingers down it to find the centre. Then you want to thread the loop over the top of the threads that are on the board, and then pull the tail ends through the loop, and this attaches them to the rest of the threads. And then push them up to the halfway point, and then just make sure that you're going to be knotting with your longest piece of thread. So find your shortest piece and then put that out of the way, because you're not going to be using this bit till later. And then you want to take your longest thread, then you want to work over and through all the threads on the board, and then under and through. And this completes your first knot, as well as the first one that you did where you attached the threads in the first place. And then just keep doing this until you get the loop part as long as you want it to be. So once your first part is done, it should look something like this. So then you can remove all the threads from the board. Then you want to gently pinch the ends together to form your loop. And you can pull everything tight as you're doing it, just to make sure that there's no bits showing through your loop. And once you've created your loop, attach it to the top of your board. So you're going to end up with two sections here, so you can put one section to one side, and then take the inside thread from one of your sections, then you're going to work this over the rest of the threads, and then through. And then you're going to go under your threads and through. And once you've worked that strand, you want to put it to one side, and then take the next colour in your colour sequence. For me it's just black and white, but if you're doing colours, just pick the correct colour for you. And then just repeat that step by going over and through, and then under and through, and then dropping that thread, and then taking the next colour in your sequence, and do this until you get to the end and you've only got one thread left. So once you've completed your first section, you're going to have one thread that you haven't used, so you're going to leave that for now, and then you're going to switch to your next side, and you're going to do the exact same thing. So taking the same colour that you worked the first time, you put that over the top of the other threads and then pull it through. And then under the threads and pull it through. And then just copy the colour sequence, whatever colour sequence you're using, on the other side so it matches the first side. And again, just work down until you run out of threads. So once you've done both sides, you should end up with something that looks like this. It should look the exact same for both loops. So once you've done both sides, you want to attach them together. So to do this, you're going to take the centre thread of both sides, and then you're going to knot these together twice. And if they're the same colour as mine are, it doesn't matter which direction you use, so just use whichever direction you prefer. And once you've got the first two done, you want to move to the next one in your colour sequence. And take the next one at both sides. And then you want to work this over the other thread towards the centre. You do the first side, and then do the same thing at the other side. And then when they're both in the centre, you can knot these two together. And then you're going to take the next colour in your sequence and do the same thing again. So each time you're just knotting towards the centre over each thread. And once you've repeated these steps for all your threads, you should end up with something that looks like this. So now you want to repeat the same steps for your other loop, and then you can attach them together. And once you've done both loops, you should end up with something that looks like this. So you want to take the threads that are in the centre at either end of each of your loops, and you want to knot these together. And then at either side you want to take the next colour in your sequence, and you're going to take the thread that you just worked with, but you're going to work away from the centre this time. And do this both times, and then take the next colour at the same side, and again work away from the centre, and then do this down until you get down to the point at this side. Once you've done the first side, you can put them to one side and then do the same thing at the other side, but a mirror image. So again, you're going to be working away from the centre. Take your middle thread and then the next one along in your sequence, and do both your knots away from the centre, and do this until you get to the point at the other side. So once you've done both sides, you can take the ones at either end and then do the same thing like you do a normal chevron bracelet. Take your two outside threads, and this time you're going to be working both your knots towards the centre, or at least the centre of this half of the bracelet, until you meet the thread that you haven't knotted with yet. And once you get to the central thread in this half, you just want to knot them together as you would normally do if you were just doing a single bracelet. And then you just want to repeat those steps at the other side. Again, for every knot you want to be working towards the centre. So once again, when you get to the centre, you just want to take the thread from the other side and just knot them together. So once they're joined, they should look like this. So then you're just going to repeat that first step all the way down until you've got the bracelet as long as you want it.